Little drawing tutorial video here. I'm going to talk about short straight lines. A little bit about holding different grips on the pencil. This is my 4B Stadler. It's getting kind of short, but I'm going with it anyways. Straight lines, as you might imagine, are extremely helpful thing to be able to draw. And there's a few different things to think about when you're practicing and learning. First of all, I'm just going to sort of think about a short straight lines, and the first one I'm going to just sort of think about is a short vertical line. For this one, I often like just using my fingers. As you can see, I'm holding the pencil back, and using my fingers as more like a writing sort of grip. I'll get to a little bit more on other ways in a minute, but that can kind of help learn. I mean, because mostly if you're beginning drawing, you're used to writing and holding your pencil up close for fine detail, which is great for fine detail. But especially when you're starting off a drawing, you're really going to be making marks that are guidelines for quite a while, and final marks really aren't going to come in to the drawing till quite a bit later. So I like having folks just sort of practice short vertical lines and sort of a similar hold as writing, but further back on the pencil so you can get a lighter touch. Speaking of lighter touch, this is something I've been playing with, working on, and trying to talk about. When I did guitar, I would set up my metronome and pick strings all the way from pianissimo to forte, I don't know, I don't remember all the words, but very quiet to very loud, but still try to keep it in time. And you probably can't hear it. I'll play with that one some more. A couple things I want to point out is what we talked about, is making sure that you're constantly sort of referencing what you know to be straight up and down by the edges of the paper, and using that and leaning back to help you really sort of gauge if indeed the lines you are making are vertical. That's getting scribbly, but that's fun. Going to horizontal. I suppose you could do the same thing, and that I really don't like doing that. What I'd like doing horizontally especially is shifting over to a hold of the pencil where really I'm holding my wrist and my fingers completely still, and I'm pivoting at my elbow. Eventually this will, if you do exactly that, this line would turn into an arc. So we're keeping it nice and short at the beginning here. You can adjust a little bit. Once again, a really nice light touch. And as unexciting as it is, do this a bunch. And hopefully you will fairly quickly make a connection between the sheer repetitive nature of this and actually improving. Ooh, now my heater just turned off. I can hear this a little bit better. Just the sound of the paper on the pencil. Interesting, kind of fun. I was having fun drawing. I would have you start making what I call just sort of tic-tac-toes. Two sets of parallel lines, horizontals and verticals. And the tic-tac-toe part is just that I'm overlapping a little bit here, like a tic-tac-toe setup. And speaking of setup, one of the good reasons to get into a habit of doing that is that it will set you up for the next thing you're going to draw. Okay, that was a little excessive. But if I was just more trying to make a rectangle, I would definitely overlap it a little. We'll get more into that. Try making rectangles and bisecting them, splitting them down the middle. And lastly, what I encourage you to do over and over is I'm just going to set up a vertical and a horizontal. Make sure I'm gauging it with the edge of my paper to double check. And then I'm just going to create a right triangle with a straight diagonal line. And you can do that in any sort of orientation. Okay, you're not quite straight. Depending on what angle, you may be using some sort of like a finger motion like this. You may be using a pivot at the elbow thing like this. You may be using sort of a combination of the two. But do it enough times to where you have a sense of what works best for you. Need to work on that one. One of the things I talked about in class was having a stabilizing your drawing hand. Once I start drawing way over here, I sort of run out of, I mean, I do have this and I could use this for stabilizing. But But often I'll just sort of practice in a way where I don't have to do that too much. And then I'll realize, oh, I should probably practice it quite a bit because I want to get better at it. So then after you've done these, this right triangle, I want you to create some other diagonal lines that are parallel with that angled line that you drew originally. And one of the reasons I want you to do that is because we're going to be talking a lot about the amazing, wonderful powers of the triangle in helping us with all sorts of things drawing related. But the main idea is that as we're starting to draw more and more complex things, and it's gonna be trickier and trickier to know if everything is in proportion, if everything is placed correctly. This idea that that triangles are proportionately equal to each other as long as the three sides have the same angles. So hopefully you can see that that first triangle is the same proportion as that triangle, which is the same proportion as that very small triangle. But the point, one of the points is to do this a million times. Or at least 10,000 hours. No, I don't know. You get what I'm saying, hopefully. So, do that until you're bored stiff, and then do it again. Man, I'm noticing a theme. Okay, then when you get really bored, do some circles. Okay, go practice. Have fun. Be creative. Ask yourself, I wonder what would happen if I did this. And then try it.